If you've ever been curious about the exact details of a profitable real estate investment in Mexico, then you're going to want to stick around because we're about to break it down. Hola, hola, I'm Diani Leal, real estate broker and investment consultant based out of Puerto Vallarta and Banderas Bay, Mexico. If you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate in the Puerto Vallarta area, do not hesitate to reach out to me. I would love to hear from you. I represent Dyanimite Investment Realty, turning your dreams into reality. Right before we get started, please make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet. And stay tuned to all the details of Puerto Vallarta's lifestyle and real estate industry. That said, if you are a subscriber, I just want to take a second to address the fact I haven't been publishing long videos as much as I'd like, and it's not because I am not planning them and ready to get you lots of very valuable and good content. It's really just because I have been improving my workflow and recently moved houses. So of course moves are always pretty insane, and also built out this office that you can see now, the studio space, which has been amazing, and got a ton of new equipment for recording videos. And that has been really interesting to navigate and learn how to use it all. And so I've been a little bit slower than I'd like on publishing videos, but I have a ton prepared and ready and a lot of really great content for you. As I move forward with my channel and grow in my career, I'm going to be focusing probably a lot more on investor specific content. So if that interests you and you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe now so you don't miss that stuff. I've been putting together a lot of information for investors and also podcast interviews. In the studio, I have some chairs and some mics and set up a little interview station. And I have been interviewing some really established investors in Puerto Vallarta's real estate industry who also run businesses here, developers, entrepreneurs, people who have some really great perspective, who've been here for over a decade and just have a lot of insight into Puerto Vallarta's real estate market. And I think that can be really helpful, especially if you're coming from abroad, to get a little perspective into what is going on here in PV from the lens of people who really know the details on everything here. So recently I interviewed this wonderful woman named Deb, and she runs a business called Crate Interiors, which is an interior design company based out of the Bay that has been operating for 15 years. It's a pretty good connection because she also has a lot of investor clients and has a lot of great perspective and has been recording data for the past 15 years from her clients and how these investments in high-end interior design impact the value of their investment. So that is really interesting. We were chatting about those details, and I'm excited to learn more from her and dig into the data that she has. I think that'll be really interesting as well. So I interviewed her for my channel and she interviewed me for her channel. And for the interview that she led, we got some interesting content that I probably wouldn't have thought of because it's not in my usual flow, and I really love it. So I'm going to share a little bit of a segment from that interview here as well. And what we did is we really broke down every detail of an investment property. And this investment property actually happens to be a listing that's my listing that I represent as a sales agent and is actually available. So that's a pretty exciting part of this. If you decided that this is something that looks interesting to you, then you could potentially secure this as an investment of your own. So we're still in the process of figuring out the pricing point and the renovations that my client is going to do. And just to give you a little bit of an update, because there's been some advancements since I last recorded this, my client, as the seller of the property, is going to invest about $50K in renovations and getting the property, some of the basic things, electrical, plumbing, the air conditioning, having all that stuff working. This property is at Bayview Grand. It's a condominium complex that's located in the Marina Vallarta, if you're familiar with the area. This is one of the oldest, most upscale, established areas right on the beach in Puerto Vallarta. not far from the airport and the marina, surrounded by golf courses, wide streets. It's a very nice area. And this particular condominium complex called Bayview Grand was built in the early 2000s. So it's about 25 years old, more or less, the whole complex. And it's all beachfront, but of course, the way that it's built is some of the units go back and forth and they all have different views, and some are next to the pool, some are next to the parking lot, and some are on the ocean. This particular unit is a 3-bedroom that is on the ocean, so it's beachfront with a full view of the beach, a terrace that just sits with nothing between you and the beach. It is not just ocean view, it is also beachfront, and that's a really important distinction. And there aren't a ton of those in Bayview Grand. Most of them have side views or this or that, so it's a pretty great property itself. But as you may have guessed from the renovation comments, there is some work that needs to be done. But the bones are great, and this is a huge important detail as well. When you're going to invest in a condo, you want to make sure the entire condominium complex is well maintained, right? Because that is obviously going to age the building. So that's the good thing about Bayview Grand. It's kept up really well. So when you have a property there that's been renovated, it can do really well as a vacation rental. And also you can increase the value a lot for resales. It's pretty much run like a resort with nice amenities and has a lot of potential. So we're going to break down this deal and all the price points, how much it gets from rentals, how much for the capital appreciation, add those together, and then estimate in about 10 years what kind of return you'll see. And just as a little bit of a spoiler, you just about triple your initial investment with this. I don't know exactly what my clients are going to be willing to accept. We're probably going to settle on somewhere between the $1.1 and $1.2 million price point. And I just can't say exactly where yet, but it's not going to be the 1.05 I have quoted there. But keep in mind, my clients are going to take over about $50K of this quoted renovation investment. So that pretty much makes up for that. And you can probably get a pretty similar return to the one that we're about to review right now. So enjoy the breakdown. All right. So first of all, we have this property. It is in need of some love, and it is currently valued, let's say, if it was renovated, but not necessarily luxury renovated. If it was just at a basically functioning level, I would value it around $1.2 million. And if it was fully functioning, looking great, 1.35 million. And if it was fully furnished, luxury level, it would be about 1.6 million. So really, that's how much these kinds of things make a difference. However, at this current state that it's in now, it wouldn't necessarily go for 1.2 million. Although, as I mentioned, I think my clients are likely going to do some of the renovations themselves. But let's say hypothetically, you walk in and you're going to buy this property right now as is. And that means that some of the things that need to be done are fixing the entire AC system, getting some of the electricity functioning that hasn't been working super well, and some other things. And this is for this oceanfront property at Bayview Grand that is in the marina, beachfront. And there's a terrace that directly overlooks the ocean. So it's a really great location and really great property with tons of potential. Bayview Grand is a building that is 25 years old. So some units in the building are not in that great condition because they have been renovated or kept up for the past 25 years, and others are really looking great. And the building itself is really well managed, well maintained, and pretty great destination. So we have a lot to work with here, right? So first, we're looking at kind of basic renovation costs. I even added an additional 10K to this budget because I think some of the materials that we've selected in this particular renovation project are not necessarily top tier. And what we're going to do is analyze what's going to be a luxury renovation. So it could be even more than what we have here, but I actually have had a very extensive evaluation done. So this is pretty accurate. What we're looking at is about 85K in renovation costs. So let's say you say, look, 1.2, I don't think so. There's a ton of renovation that needs to be done. Not even the central AC system is working. I'll give you 1.05. million for this property, and my client accepts it. So you've got a really good deal on this property. As I said, in good condition, it's probably worth more like 1.35. So that's significantly below market value. And of course, I'm not making any commitments for my clients that they would accept that kind of offer, but let's say they do, right? You find this great deal and it just is in need of so much renovation and they want to unload it and they go for this. So you have curtains, ceiling fans, air conditioning, you have your paint job, work on the terrace, a lot of aluminum work that's need to be done there, electrical, plumbing, carpentry, and floor retiling, as we've discussed. And that comes to 85K. Then I have included here as well an estimate on closing costs. I put 100K just as a ballpark estimate. Again, these numbers can't be guaranteed, but they're relatively accurate and based on factual data. Then we have the renovation we just discussed for the 85K and about 180K to furnish it with high-end luxury furnishing with crate interiors, for example. So the total amount invested in this situation is 1.415 million USD. And that's what you're coming out of pocket in total, let's say. And so the resale value in this situation has gone up to the top tier because you've got a fully furnished, nice luxury, recently renovated, well-functioning, great beachfront condo in a prime location. And it's 3-bedroom. So 1.6 million is a pretty accurate estimate for that. And immediately you're getting $185,000 in capital gains right off the bat, which is pretty good. You see that sometimes in pre-construction, but it's really great to find it in an older property. And honestly, that's a pretty big amount of immediate value gained. All right, so right here, let's talk about rental income for a minute. I pulled 7 comps. You can see them in blue. The pink are additional comps I did not pull the data for. The blue ones are the ones I selected. In this platform that I use personally, I use AirDNA. You can go through and manually select the comps, which is the way that I draw my analyses for rental revenue. And I usually choose them based on their similarity, of course, to the subject property that is being valued for the rental revenue. And these are all relatively close. They're all ocean front. They had terraces overlooking the beach, really similar properties. And this was the general revenue, the average daily rate. As you can see, it actually averaged around 12.5 thousand pesos. This is in pesos too, by the way. I wish it was in dollars, but no, it's in pesos. And you can see the occupancy rate goes from 20% to 70%. And one thing to keep in mind is you can charge a higher average daily rate. You have this one that has almost 23,000 pesos a night, and the occupancy is a bit lower. It's at 42%, right? Or you have this other one that is also doing pretty well, cash flowing pretty well. It's at 11,000 as an average daily rate, but their occupancy rate goes up to 66,000. Personally, if you ask me, I would charge more on the daily rate and have less occupancy because that's less wear and tear on your asset. But it's of course up to you. You know, you might just want the constant flow and marketing and return customers if you have a lower price point as well. So it can be lower risk in that way too. Okay, so here is one comp. This was my favorite comp. It happened to be the one with the best cash flow, but actually it's the most similar as well. So Puerto Vallarta is right next to Bayview Grand. This particular building is almost exactly the same. It was built in the same year, about 25 years ago. It is a nicely kept up resort style condominium complex on the exact same location. They're literally right next to each other. Very, very similar. Really great comp. It's a 3-bedroom, and just like the one that we're analyzing at Bayview Grand in this analysis, it's beachfront. So it's not just ocean view. We're actually on the beach, and there is a terrace that looks over the beach, which is a really great feature. So I can see why this does so well as a vacation rental as well. So it's also available 365 days, which is great because when you analyze the data from AirDNA, for example, a lot of times it's, only available 180 days a year. So they draw these analyses based on the days that it's available, but it doesn't always take into account all of the specifics about seasonality, which is very specific in Vallarta. If you've analyzed any sort of rental properties in the past, you know that the seasonality can be pretty profound. If you know anything about PV, you probably know that in the winter months, it's very, very popular vacation destination, and that there's a whole snowbird subculture that makes up for a large portion of rentals as well. So we're looking at this, and we have about 3.5 million in rental, 42% occupancy, and 23,000. You can even see the listing on Airbnb, which is something that I love. So if we take a look here, we can actually see the property itself, which helps with the comps. I mean, it is in good condition. It's clearly been remodeled, polished. We have some nice finishes in some of the areas. The furnishing, I would say probably Crate Interiors would do a little bit better of a job on the furnishing, but it definitely doesn't look bad, right? And then we do have this nice polished look. It's in great condition and it's cash flowing pretty well. So we're going to use this as our primary comp as a real proof that these numbers that we have are pretty accurate. All right. So now we have our rental income. So based on the comp I just pulled here, we have a gross annual revenue that's estimated at 3.5 million pesos, which is 202,312 USD. And we've estimated here annual operating expenses as $76,500. We have about 20% as the property management, which is 40.5 thousand, 3% to put aside for incidentals. We have 10,000 for HOAs. That's another great thing about this building, Bayview Grand. I mean, the HOAs really aren't that much, because it's a pretty sizable building. So obviously when you divide the pie by more people, you get a smaller slice. And in this particular situation, the pie is the amount of money you have to pay. So we want a smaller slice. We have here the 12,000 for cleaning fees, which is another estimate based, it's about 1,000 a month for the constant influx of people. And then we have the utilities at 5,000, 3,000 for property tax. I actually didn't include in here the trust. If you're a foreigner and you're purchasing and using the trust, that's about $500 a year. So I actually did round this net operating income number down to 125K. And of course, maintenance, we have maintenance that doesn't even occur every year. We have maintenance that occurs every 3 years, every 5 years. I didn't include that. So just take this as a ballpark estimate here. But we have our net operating income, our NOI, estimated at $125,812. So you're netting six figures a year with this investment, which is great. And this is where we evaluate the actual purchase price and the rental income to see how much value we're really getting from the rental income alone. After the renovations, using the $1.415 million price point of how much you spent and how much you invested, we have a cap rate of 8.9%, which is pretty good. And then let's talk about appreciation. The appreciation rate in Puerto Vallarta, as we've discussed, is great. And you have the starting property value at our estimated amount at 1.6 million. So that's the market value of the property from after the renovations. And then let's add a 6% year over year appreciation rate. And this is based on a typical portfolio investment yield with the data that has been provided to me by Crate Interiors. And actually that data indicates a 6 to 10% year over year appreciation rate, but we're going to stick with the more modest estimate just so we're not overestimating. I always like to underestimate. So we're accounting for a lot of margin here and potentially unforeseen expenses and any sort of market upsets or anything, but it could definitely be more than this, right? And so now we have 96,000 a year that we're getting in capital appreciation and 125,000 a year in rental income. So really, to analyze our full net return on investment projection, we're going to take over the course of 10 years as an example. We have a 10-year projected property value given the 6% year over year appreciation rate for 10 years at $2.56 million. So likely in 10 years, you would be estimating the same fully renovated. And honestly, you're selling it also as the cash flowing rental property, which is attractive as well. So you're selling the business too, with this projected property value of $2.56 million. And then on top of it, you've already made and now we're not including taking tax out or anything like that, but you have cash flowed $1.25 million. So you came out of pocket 1.415, but I rounded that to 1.42 million is how much you came out of pocket for everything from the beginning. So over the 10 years, you've made a total of $3.81 million, and 2.39 million of that is profit. So that's not a bad investment. And again, it just goes to show how much it's worth getting the renovations and doing the nice furnishing and really putting the effort into all areas of this investment property. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed that breakdown. Thank you for tuning in to Dyanimite Investment Realty, where we give you a real deep dive into Puerto Vallarta's investment real estate market. And of course, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet. Until next time, bye.